Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you. From Yahuwah, that is our Father, and Yahusha, he is the Messiah, the one that carries the burden of Yah, his voice, our high priest, soon coming King. Hear, O Yesharo, Yahuwah, who is our mighty one. He is one. There is no other mighty one in existence than Yahuwah, and Yahusha is his voice. This is Brother Dawood coming to you again to bring you the Shamut, the Exodus from Egypt. This is part 1. Look in the upper left-hand corner on the very top. You see those swiggly lines? They represent the congregation, the assembly, the called out ones, the Kedusha Yam. Who is that? The children of Yesharo, who was led out of Egypt on foot by this man. Look on the bottom. Masha. Look over his head. There's a round circle there in white. It means time. We saw it on the walls in Egypt. In the fullness of time. In the appointed time. Masha led the children of Yesharo out of the land of Egypt on foot over the reeds into a land that was fertile. Shamut, chapter 12, verse 35. And the children of Yesharo did according to the word of Masha. What did they do? And they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and raiment. This is what they were doing in this scene. They were spoiling the Egyptians. The word borrowed doesn't quite go over well with me. They were treated evil. They were taken captive by these people. They were enslaved. Do you think they came up and said, "Can I borrow that ring you have there?" This is what I think they said. "Give me that ring." And the people were so afraid of Yahuwah, they gave it to them. Let's begin. Shamut, you would say Exodus, chapter 12, 1-3. Enters in. His Majesty. And Yahuwah spake unto Masha and Aharon in the land of Egypt, saying, note, who is the speaker? He who is seated upon the throne. He's about to hand down the law. 2. This month. Look at the word that's under month. Hidash. What does that mean? Moon. Moon. Month. Month. You are only to find Yah's days through the moon. You will never see or hear any place in the book where he tells you to follow the sun at any time. So this Hadash, this moon face, this slither of light shall be unto you the beginning of Hadashes. What? How many Hadashes are in a year? 12. Do you know we had a guy who said that there were 13 Hadashes in a year? Isn't it obvious? He is not an observer. There's 12 Hadashes in a year. So after this Hadash, you count 11 more Hadashes, then you come back to the first Hadash. It shall be the first Hadash of the year to you. What if you added a month to the calendar? Did you bypass what he who is seated upon the throne just instructed you to do? Yes, you did. What if you say you're going to follow the first new moon after an equinox? Did you violate this rule, this law? Of course you did. In a monumental way. You just ignored everything he just said. He told you to follow the moon, not follow an equinox, then look for a moon after an equinox. What if you just use a sundial? It's not even in the book. Sun is never mentioned. Nowhere to find Yahuwah's feast. So you count from this first Hadash, 12 months, and you come back to the first month again. How easy is that? But the Gentiles, the Israelite brothers, and all of these false teachers, they will lead you to death. They want you to adjust the calendar. They want you to follow an equinox. They want you to follow a sundial. And none of these things are even in the book. 3. Speak you unto the congregation of Yeshua. No one else. There's only one target group in this book, the stiff-necked people. Say, in the 10th day of this Hadash, they shall take to them every man a lamb. Note, all time was counted on the moon. There was never introduced a solar calendar to count the days, to find Yah's feast. They shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. 4. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Note, the lamb at 8 months can be pretty big, you know. If it's too big, say there's only 2 people in your household, you can team up with your neighbors and share it. You cannot do that here in the land of your captivity. We've already received the covenant. We are trying to return to the covenant. The Father has provided for us a high priest. He is the only one today who can make the sacrifice on your behalf. 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Why not a female? The lamb represents Yahushua HaMashiach. He is the Passover lamb. You shall take it out of the sheep or from the goats. The sheep? Yes, the lamb. Whatever you had in the land of your captivity, out of these 2 items, you can use it. What does the sheep stand for, or the lamb? He is the Pasa, the Passover lamb. Behold, the lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, that takes away the sins of the children of Yeshua. How did he do that? he takes the goat, slaughters him on your behalf. He takes the blood, he puts it in the basin. With his finger, he goes into the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle not made with hands. He sprinkles the blood 7 times with his finger before the mercy seat, and 7 times with his finger on the mercy seat. 6. And you shall keep it, the lamb or the goat, until the 14th day of the same Hidash, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Yesharo shall kill it in the evening. The priesthood was not established yet. Lambi. You're going to take Lambi. You're going to put him in your house. A special place. You're going to feed him special foods. If you have small children, Lambi and the children will become one. Wherever the children go, there's Lambi. He thinks he's one of them. When they go to sleep, he goes to sleep, and he cuddles in their arms. Then, 4 days later, on the 14th day in the evening, Lambi is to be offered up to Yahuwah. To do what? 7. And you shall take the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses wherein you shall eat it. He's a covering. A covering for what? For you. This is what the high priest, the Kahan, does. He covers you. In the tabernacle not made with hands in the heavens today. 8. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, and roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do you remember Yahushua HaMashiach said to them, you have to eat of my flesh and drink of my blood. And what was it, 72 of the disciples? They got out of there. They said he's out of his mind. He wants us to eat his flesh, cannibalism. But he was giving an analogy. You were supposed to roast the lamb and eat the flesh. How would you roast it? With fire, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. 9. Don't eat it raw. Don't boil it with water, but roast it with fire. His head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. The purtenance? Yeah. The brain, the heart, the stomach, the dookie, all of it. I know you're saying, what? Yeah. The whole lamb is to be roasted just as he is. And after he is cooked, then you are to eat the flesh. Consider the purtenance, the brains, the stomach, and all of the dookie that is in the intestines. Consider its seasoning. 10. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. This only happened in Egypt. It is not to happen for you today. We are returning They are just leaving. 11. And thus shall you eat it. Pay attention. Your loins girded, fully clothed, shoes on your feet, staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. The bread of haste. It is Yahuwah's Pasah. Remember I showed you the bread of haste on the walls in Egypt? They came out of Egypt in the fullness of time, eating the bread of haste under the watchful eye. 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt. Remember, Pharaoh was a god. And I will execute judgment. Look at this. He signed his name. For I am Yahuwah. 13. And the blood shall be to you for a token, a memorial, a sign upon the houses where you are. And when I see the sign, when I see the blood, when I see that you are covered, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. How long is forever? Till heaven and earth pass away. Has heaven and earth passed away? The answer is no. 15. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread, not 6, 7. Indeed, the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. On the 14th day before the evening comes, all of the leaven in your house must be removed. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Yesharo. See how dangerous it is? If you don't keep it, death. If you keep it and don't do it exactly as he said in this verse and every other verse, death. You have no choice. Get your head together. Let's do this thing right. We want to go home. We're tired of being here. 16. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, a gathering. And the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation, a gathering. Can you do that here? Of course not. No manner of work shall be done in them. You cannot go to work on the first day or the 7th day, except that which every man must eat, that only may be done of him. What does that mean? On this day, the restriction is removed. You can bake, you can boil, you can kindle a fire. Everything you need to do to prepare your feast. Why? It is a celebration. It is a memorial. It's a party. 17. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day, stop. In the selfsame day, he wants us to observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. Do you know, I've had people attack me And he said it's impossible for you to have the self-same day. But yet I do. I know it. And I've taught it to many others. It's called the path of years. What is the path of years? The way Yahuwah created the sun, the moon, and the stars to work together in the heavens to give you time. You cannot go wrong if you follow me, because I follow Yah. I don't follow these men. That's who you're following. If you find your feast in April, between March and April, and September and October, every single year, you're following men. 18. In the first Hadash, in the 14th day of the Hadash, in the evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the Hadash in the evening. Yah's days can only be found in the moon. Look in every single feast, you're going to see the same thing. 19. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. Is he repeating himself? Yes. You have to repeat yourself when you're dealing with children. The children here, in this case, are the adults. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leaven, indeed that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Yisrael, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. The strangers have to follow the same instructions. You won't see many strangers in the land. In order for them to be in the land, they have to do exactly what we do. And the strangers believe in the equinoxes, adjusting calendars to find their feast. If you follow them, you will go straight to the lake of fire with them. 20. You shall eat nothing leavened. Here we go again. Why is he consistently saying the same thing? He's speaking to children who are adults. In all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread. 21. Then Masha called for all the elders of Yisrael, and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passah. Note, in the land of Egypt, before our first deliverance, before we received the law, all of the men were the priests of their own houses. 22. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out that door of his house until the morning. If you didn't follow instructions, what happened? Death. 23. For Yahuwah will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood, that you're covered by the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, Yahuwah will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. Are you covered by the blood? In order to be covered by the blood, you have to be a participant. You have to make these appointments on this day, this exact same day. Yahusha HaMashiach will take the blood of the goat, put it in the basin, dip his finger in it. He will go into the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle not made with hands in the heavens. He will sprinkle the blood 7 times before the mercy seat, and 7 times on the mercy seat. When he who is seated upon the throne sees this, he will have mercy upon only the participants, only those who have made disappointment. Is that you? Will you be a participant in your first Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread? 24. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever. How long is forever again? Till heaven and earth pass away. 25. And it shall come to pass when you be come into the land which Yahuwah will give you, according as he hath promised, that you shall keep this service, even in the land. You have to keep it. This is forever. 26. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, why are we doing this service? 27. Then you shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Passah, who passed over the houses of the children of Yisrael in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. Our is a pronoun. It describes a person, place, or thing. It's speaking of the children of Yisrael. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. Yirmiyahu, chapter 23, verses 14 to 15. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, saith Yahuwah, that it shall no more be said, Yahuwah liveth, that brought up the children of Yisrael out of the land of Egypt. 15. But this is what we're going to say this time. The second time that Yahuwah liveth, that brought up the children of Yisrael from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he hath driven them. And I, Yahuwah, will bring them again, a second time, into their land that I gave unto their fathers. The land is only for DNA. The DNA of the children of Yisrael. No one else has this promise. You cannot be grafted into this. You cannot be grafted into a bloodline. What a great salvation he who is seated upon the throne has offered up unto us. But our people turn it down to follow the Gentiles. They put a stumbling block in your way. They say to you, how can your feast be all the way in January? How can it be all the way in the winter months? When you hear people say that, they have denied he who is seated upon the throne. He is the one who has given this edict. Why has he told you to follow the moon? Well, because the moon cannot be controlled. Only he has the power to open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing where there not be room enough to receive it. What makes you so special? If you have to wait for a harvest at the 3 seasons that bring forth the harvest for the rest of the world, you are special in his hands. He will give you a harvest year round. Why? Because he said so. And if he said it, he will do it. Do not deny it, but participate in it. Join with us on January 14th in the evening to celebrate the Passah and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Once you have done this, once you have made disappointment, your name shall be put upon the list of those who have overcome this matrix in which they have created for us to keep us stupid and ignorant and following stupid and ignorant ways. continue to part 2. Shalom.